Today I'm going to Fort King George for the encampment day. This is the encampment day at Fort King George in Darien.
Munitions that you would have found during the 18th century, and you would have found these aboard ship or on the land-based installation as well.
Each time you do, you see something different.
Excellent.
Yeah, I know that device right there is for your trajectory, isn't it?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And you would have it marked off so that when you had the angle at whatever degree, you knew about how far it was going to shoot.
Right.
Back then, they would either have markers out, and they would have markers placed out there so that they could see a visual. Hey, he's at 500 yards or whatever, and then you would know what to set the angle to be the right angle.
So that's a canister round?
Yeah. So this is
Wow.
it would be full of musket balls.
And it's just like a scatter shot.
Right, exactly. And they made them for the big guns as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd use that, once you got close, then you use that, just rake the deck
Yeah.
for personnel.
Yeah.
And if they have few people, then there are fewer people to shoot
Right,
back
to shoot
at
back.
you.
So you'd use the bar shot and the chain shot.
Yeah, I've seen those on TikTok.
Right, that's going to be shooting up into the rigging, trying to slow the ship down. So you can
Pull
either
the
catch
mast
it.
down.
Right, yep. Tear
if you
the
can.
rigging down, then the mast will come down.
Yeah,
Mortar, yeah, that's a mortar shell.
Okay.
So you couldn't, during this time, the metallurgy wasn't good enough for you to have enough compression to fire an explosive shell straight like you would a solid shot. So you had to use a little less compression but shoot it straight up. So it's a plunging fire, and because it's less compression, it's going to go up and then down and blow up.
Wow.
You have that, now you have a timing situation, because you have to light that fuse first, and then set off the mortar.
Yeah, wrap, so that you can compress it pretty well.
Right, for
And a lot of times you'll
demonstration
see the tinfoil end up in front of the gun.
Yeah.
Very accurate at that distance, but it's going to put it out there.
Does that shoot around or does that shoot scatter?
It could be either. Probably the most common would be a round shot, but you could shoot. One of the most common rounds is called a buck and ball. This is a large ball with a bunch of buckshot around it. It's kind of like a big shotgun. That was real common in military round. You ready?
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're about to see is we're going to have our two sailors here get ready to fire our swivel gun. These swivel guns were pretty typical of the time period, especially on smaller boats. They're light enough that you can pick them up and carry them around with you. So as you pull your boat in, you actually pick it up, bring it right back in, and slide it into special spots around the fort. Get all geared up and ready to go. They're going to start off by actually preparing the gun, getting it ready, make sure it's cleaned. There's no burning embers in that. It's a holdover from when we were firing these guns rapid fire. But we want to make sure that they're going to go through, sponge, make sure there's no embers, make sure there's no extra stuff caught in there. Then they're also going to use this funny looking tool right here, this thing that looks like a corkscrew. We call that our worm. That goes through, and again, make sure there's no extra left behind. In the time period, the cartridges would have been loaded, or the cannonballs would have been loaded on top of a linen bag full of black powder. Nowadays, we use aluminum foil, a little bit easier to maintain. Corkscrew worm's going to go in there and make sure there's nothing left behind. Then they'll load in their shot, tamp it down nice and tight. They'll tamp that down nice and tight because the better they can make that squish in there, seal up that explosion, makes a better pop for us. Now we are not firing projectiles today. All we were doing is firing black powder, but there still will be a bit of a pop. They'll give us the warning right as they're getting ready to fire. They'll And we'll give you a warning before you have to cover. You got a little bit of time.
Okay.
Walk right up. Nathan, scoot over. He's recording. There you go. You're right there. All right.
Prepare to fire.
All right, better get fire, so I'm going to cover your ears.
Heavy fire.
So what you're going to see now is basically the same thing they did to start off that firing in reverse. We obviously are not allowed to rapid fire.
You got a fire going too.
Well,
We'll take a quick video. Look at this. What kind of cabin was this?
this was the doctor's quarters.
Doctor's quarters. Okay.
Dr. Dalzell. He would treat patients upstairs, downstairs, and he would live and have storage upstairs. And then when they had so many guys that got sick, they moved them all over to the barracks, and then this became a guardhouse.
Gotcha.
So wool and flax was basically a lot of what they were using. That's flax, which is a plant made from that seed. And then this is Sea Island cotton. Feel how soft that is.
Yeah, no wonder they
Much
loved it.
different from that cotton.
Yeah, no wonder they loved it so much.
Yeah, but of course, like I said, that didn't come into existence till the 1800s. And then they would have dyed using onion skins. The cochineal bug made the red color, and then this is indigo, which is a plant that was grown over on Sapelo Island. And then we're having, I just display my little sewing kit there. They're sewing kits, they call them a housewife. Mine's a little larger than normal, but that's for me to keep up with it. This is a drop spindle, and it's what you would spin with. I haven't done it today, so I'm not sure if I'm going to have to see what direction.
Sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's not, I don't care for that.
And you just the thread is twisted, and then the energy of that
My first name is
twist
Leslie.
goes up into
Named
it.
After a great uncle who was named Leslie, and he was first name was after several generations back.
And
in
that's the beginning of
Which is
making
not unusual.
thread.
Wow.
It's just not.
I mean, I see that
Wrap
still
it around.
today. Family names get passed along. Usually
Tie it
it's a middle
off.
name,
Right.
you know, a maiden name becomes a middle name.
And you continue
Exactly.
doing that.
And
It's a little thick.
the red
so it's a
Leslie,
little thinner.
but it was so close to the Lord Stewart. I'm not so thrilled about that.
And so we were looking arrow and
You doing all right today?
Public auctions, for example, would be here. Elections would be held in the tavern. Political meetings, social meetings. So right outside, it's listing the Anacreontic Society. That was a group of amateur musicians. So everyone who was socially minded in the area, they'd come in, they'd have punch, they'd drink, they'd sing. The American National Anthem was originally written as a drinking song for the Anacreontic Society. Then they changed the words. So
Oh, it's a
and
tavern.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So we've got a sleeping loft for the tavern keeper and his family. We've got another one for paying guests. Downstairs to be eating, drinking. This is where people come to socialize. This is where people would come to get their morning coffee. You could have dinner here, drinks. You could rent the whole space. Tonight we have a private party that has rented the space, so I'm making a special dinner for them.
Wow.
So they're going to have music and singing and general carrying on in here tonight.
As part of the fort, it was the officers' quarters.
Officers.
On the left was originally built as a guardhouse, but it was transformed into the doctor's
Gotcha.
office because the fort had such a terrible medical problem here because of its location. So the doctor's house, officers' quarters, and then the barracks. The enlisted men would sleep in the building next. So all the buildings are authentic to the original plan, and they're very close to the original location. So it really is a fascinating reproduction of what the fort looked like in 1721. In existence yet, or Charleston. So this was a rough spot.
This was the outpost.
It definitely was an outpost, no doubt about it.